Hello friends, Jennifer Pearson here, Thistle Gypsy. Continuing the ongoing saga, started from the past life lessons reading, I think it was called. So yes, there was some suggestion there that I had past life issues ongoing, and then I looked into that, and that was another video, and it indicated that yes, I likely do have. And then I got suggestions. I keep getting suggestions from Lisa, Tarot Alchemist, and she keeps kind of nudging me further. So when I saw, I need to check something. Oh, my dogs are barking at nothing like they usually do. Or they're barking to hearing me speaking, maybe. I don't know. So, the last video I did was about the cards that I pulled in terms of what, kind of what surrounds the issues. And there was quite a bit in terms of possibly being shackled or having been punished in some way. There were two different decks gave me the Eight of Pentacles, the Eight of Coins, and as I've thought about that some more, along with the Hanged Man that turned up when I just said, do I have a karmic issue going on in my hands, that maybe it has to do with physical labor or menial labor or something like that. And it seemed to me in general that there's more than one thing going on, if we think in terms of past lives, that there's more than one issue with my hands in past lives. And I think one of them might be an association, excuse me, with just general menial labor. And, it kind of explains why, there's some family culture there in terms of being strong, but, I started my work life essentially taking care of animals and doing that kind of labor with horses, taking care of horses. And so there was kind of, even though I intellectually was never completely satisfied or stimulated by that, there's a part of me that really does enjoy that, but it did create issues with my hands. That's how I ended up with the issues. The strongest and first issues I had in my hands was that kind of work. And so maybe there's something in this particular lifetime, if we think of things as being progressively developmental, that's trying to push me forward. And I think that that's kind of, if you think of moving out of menial labor as moving forward, if you were a crafts person, which I have never been, no, I don't know, again, past lives, but in this life, I'm just not a crafts person in the sense of somebody who works with their hands in fine or artistic ways. It's menial labor, shoveling horse scrap and stuff like that. So there's some indications here that part of it is just about moving forward or moving on and moving into positions more of authority. So what I did was I failed to show restraint, and I did a list of decks, and yesterday I realized that I left out what would be an important deck in terms of exploring what the past life situations were and ways of healing, and that's the Greenwood Tarot. And so I will return to that, because that in the past, at any rate, has not been the most intuitive deck for me, so it might be its own adventure in this sort of ongoing series about my my past life lessons, especially as regards my hands. So I thought, okay, so what decks could give me interesting, intriguing information in regard to this? And I came up with 6 decks. And so I've pulled some cards from each of those decks. This might be a long video, it might not be. I am going to try not to go into a lot of depth. I think this is, the video is just to show kind of where the exploration is going, but the more in-depth exploration, of course, is my job. So I will say, I'll just tell you the decks that I ended up using. Tarot of Transformation, the Herbal Tarot, the Fractal Tarot, Ghetto Tarot, Kuan Yin Oracle, and the Fairies Oracle. The Fairies Oracle by Brian Froud. And I'm not going to do the Tarot of Transformation first because I've got some cards laid out here in front of me, so I'm going to deal with them first, I think. But I will say that the Tarot of Transformation actually gave me a story. It gave me, to the extent that it showed me that this will be a process. This is not like, oh, do X and Y and ooh, magically, you know, magically it's all taken care of. So that's kind of worth knowing and worth noting. So I will show you that journey in the tarot just by showing you the cards. They're actually just with the keywords kind of self-explanatory, and I'll do my own research in terms of reading a lot in the book or not reading a lot in the book. That book tends to be very psychological. That comes with the Tarot of Transformation, and I'm not sure that's quite where I want to go with this. Alright, so I'm going to start with the Ghetto Tarot, because again it's sitting here out in front of me, and the Fractal Tarot, and we'll go from the Ghetto and the Fractal to the Herbal Tarot. So I chose the Ghetto Tarot because I was starting to get that inkling about it having to do, well, we'd had the whole issue of perhaps being shackled, and so to me the Ghetto Tarot is a tarot showing people in, certainly not shackled, but in an unfortunate situation in terms of the trials that the people of Haiti have gone through, both, you know, in terms of hurricanes and earthquakes, and my lord, if there was astrology for Haiti, then they, you know, it would be looking really bleak. And political strife, just they've had everything. And so I thought, you know, this deck will have insights into how to rise above that, because to me this is a deck of people who are showing how their spirit is still shining through despite their obstacles and situation. And so we have the Emperor here, and you know, there's not too much to this. It's kind of weird that he's got a golden beard, but whatever. Maybe that's what they had available. The Chariot, and she's like the, you know, transforming. I mean, even this can be seen as healing your past life issues, kind of transforming your junk into a way to move forward. And of course this person is sort of has become the ruler of their junk. But I do see this as, again, that thing of move on, that I need to move on. And I see this as, again, moving into a situation of more leadership and control. And again, when you're in this position, when you're the Emperor, you're asking other people to do the manual labor, you know, or you're assigning it, not even asking, you're assigning other people to do the manual labor. And I have started to do that in terms of getting people to do my yard work and and some housework as well. And to me that goes back to like the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man has, there are just many ways to read the Hanged Man, but one is suspension. So to not use your hands. He has his hands behind his back frequently. So so that was coming to me, especially with all the Eight of Pentacles. It's like, no, you need to. It's like, why do I have karmic issues with my hands? That's where the Hanged Man came in, was why do I have this karmic issue? So maybe it's because I need to give them a break. That's part of releasing them. Maybe releasing that karma, maybe giving my hands a break. The Knight of Machetes is the last one, and this one's a little bit difficult for me to quite see, except of course, if you need somebody to rush in and cut past karmic bonds, why not the Knight of Machetes? In this deck more than in others, although it's also true in the Tarot Illuminati, he strikes me as someone who is there to rescue you or to lead people forward on a mission, an inspirer of others. So maybe they're just giving me this Knight of Machetes to help me move forward with the idea of clearing this karma and to keep me on the path. So next I'm going to do the fractal, again because it just happens to be sitting out here. And so the first card I pulled, most of these decks I pulled 3 cards, but not all of them. And so this is obviously very fiery energy. I don't know what I assigned this to. This was the Knight of Wands, another potential rescuer. But what I get out of this is just heat. Because, and a little bit to my surprise, because when I first had the tendonitis in my hands, when I first damaged them, well, I was doing a combination of hot and cold. And if anything, when I apply heat to my hands, they tend to swell a little bit. And but this is not the only place I've gotten heat, and actually aggressive heat, because I got it in the Fairies Oracle with, and I can't remember his name now. I can picture him, but I can't remember his name. A very energetic fairy in the Fairies Oracle, and that's one of the first decks I used, and I was like, really, fire and heat, okay? And so this kind of, and that's what I actually went to the Fractal Tarot for, is because I thought it would show in very simple terms what it is I need. I need heat. There it is. Kind of what I was expecting or looking for, whether it be this or something cooler. I was looking for that kind of intuition as to that kind of application. And this, is this another Knight? Or the 6? I think it's the 6 of Swords. I can't really see. It doesn't really matter, because that's really not how I'm interpreting them. And what this reminds me of when I look at it is, has anybody had an ionic foot bath? I had an ionic foot bath this summer, and this reminds me of how it gets really foamy. It did in my case anyway. And since these things are about, this whole video is focusing on how to heal my hands, how to release the karmic bonds, how to move beyond that. And so it occurs to me, ionic foot bath for my hands. I don't know. But another thing that it reminded me of, and the first thing it reminded me of, was theta healing, because when I do my version of theta healing, which is not correct or proper because I don't have correct or proper training in it, but I have had, and this is, a lot of times with chakras you start up and I do the opposite. So I go up and things come down, and this is often what it is. It's light coming down. So the light comes down. And so to me this is encouraging me to continue that activity. And then we got the Emperor. And if anybody has the Fractal Tarot, I'll just say I reassigned all of the cards according to how I was perceiving them. So to me, this is the Emperor. So twice now I've gotten the Emperor in terms of how to overcome this situation. So, the Emperor is to me strategy, control, and delegation. Again, delegating things to others. I'll add this also with the Chariot in there, and chariots are also about journeys. Is that it could be, essentially when I do theta healing, it's similar to a journey. So it could be a theta healing type of journey, but it could also be shamanic journey. And I have been feeling like I do need to return to the shamanic practitioner that I used. It's getting a couple years now since I did my first shamanic treatment, and I feel like I do need to do that again, and perhaps if not annually, then I do my own versions, but I feel like I'm kind of shoddy. Let me say this, unfocused when I do my shamanic journey. I'm not very focused, so I could use some training in that. But and this person also does training, so I could do that. But I think it would be worth my while to get somebody who has had training and do it, if not annually, every 6 months. So now we're moving on to the Herbal Tarot. And so I got, again, some curious cards here. Curious in that, and it made me wonder, because I don't know if anybody else experiences the Herbal Tarot, but sometimes the Herbal Tarot will just sort of hijack your reading, and it's like, I know you're asking this question, but I really think you need to know this right now. And it can, if anybody's been watching Lisa's videos about the chakras and how she talks about you have to deal with lower chakra issues in order to completely take care of the upper chakra issues. I have no idea where, I've heard people talk about hand chakras, but it's, usually we're dealing with the core here, so I don't know if there really is a separate chakra for the hands or the feet, something outside of the core. But the Herbal Tarot was giving me female issue kinds of information, because the first one was the Queen of Cups, Lady's Mantle, and then the last one, I pulled 3, was Black Cohosh, which is a female herb, right, for female issues. And I'm having bladder issues, and I might be having, again, cysts on my ovaries. I was wondering that the other day with the amount of discomfort I was having down there. I felt like talking to my lower abdomen and saying, hey, we took the organs out, okay? I still do have my ovaries, and now I'm wishing I didn't. But, it's like, give me a break here. But it's not giving me a break. So there are issues down there. And, what's good for the goose might be good for the gander. What's good for the reproductive area and elimination area might be also good for the hands, because most of these cards have to do with circulation. So if we look at spiritual properties, it says Lady's Mantle. This is pretty brief, which is why I'm reading it. This herb symbolizes the power of control, so there we have that again, especially over the emotions relating to others. It can therefore help overcome an excessive dependency on another. There is a little bit of that in my life, but certainly something I'm happy to escape. And thus help evolve a greater sense of your true worth and needs. Medicinal properties. Lady's Mantle is primarily used to regulate menstrual bleeding, and it appears as though that regulation is to help stop the flow when it's being excessive. It can be used both internally and externally, such as in a douche, for treating leukorrhea, which is vaginal discharge. It can also be used for treating diarrhea. So that's interesting. I'm going to look at the keywords here. It says clarity, knowledge of needs and desires of the self or others, self-acceptance, appreciation of one's limitations and gifts. And I think that that's the one that rings most true with me, appreciation of one's limitations and gifts. To lean in the direction of the gifts and let go of the limitations, and not think that I need to, not admit that they're limitations for one thing, and feel that I'm somehow not living up to something because of my limitations. Moodiness, empathy for another, or instead collapsing into another's problems. Well, I'm pretty good at not doing that one, except for animals. Collapse immediately into homeless or abused animal issues. But I'm topped out. Topped out on animals, so I'm not too inclined to do that anymore. So Seven of Wands is ginger. So that middle card is ginger. So here we have heat again. So that's 3 decks giving me heat signals. And I like ginger. So particularly if you take the Queen of Cups with ginger, then like ginger ale, ginger beer, something that there's a ginger ale. So this is enabling my desire for this ginger ale, which I really love, this ginger ale. But it's, of course, expensive because it's unusual. It actually has bits of ginger in it. It is a true ginger ale. So it's enabling me to go get some and to drink it regularly, which for me probably the max would have to be daily. And I don't know that I could even sustain that for very long, because it still does, I don't know if it has sugar in it, but it must have some sweetener. It doesn't work for me to, because of my blood sugar issues, doesn't work for me to have that kind of thing too often. So ginger, spiritual properties, presenting a perfect heart-shaped leaf. Wild ginger is naturally found in the shaded areas of forests. Here it serves to remind us not to lose heart even as we pass through the densest, thickest, and the darkest moments of our life. It will stimulate us in the need to be brave and to face our fears with spiritual tenacity. So a lovely card to have on your side. I feel like I had to learn a lot of that through my dealing with Lyme disease, not so much with my hands, but with Lyme disease. You could say I'm kind of dealing with it now with all of the bladder, urinary tract, whatever's going on in my lower regions here, which is being persistent. This is not just this is something that's been going on for months and hasn't been resolved, so I'm going to have to take it to the next level here. And medicinal properties. It's used to relieve blood congestion and promote circulation. It is classified as something I'm not going to try to pronounce, and again, it just stimulates circulation in both men and women. And then it says here, since blood stagnation is one of the primary causes of pain, wild ginger can be used to disperse swelling and cysts, and I do end up with swelling in my legs, as well as relieving arteriosclerosis. Okay, it is very warming and helps to sweat out illnesses, and that is one way that my body deals with illnesses, is when I have lots of sweats. Of course, I'm at an age where, you wonder if it's menopause, which I'm going through. But sometimes when I have those series of sweats, it's like, what am I needing to sweat out of me? Because it's not like hot flash, it's just sweats. I haven't had that in a little while, but maybe that's what I need. And maybe I need to do more like, I don't know where there's any place around here. I suppose I could go ask. There's a place, I don't know if you'd call it a meeting. It's a meeting place and shop, I guess you would say, for the local Cherokee Indians. And I could stop by there and ask if they have any sweats that they do. I'm not aware of any, but I could go ask. The Nine of Swords we have is, Eight of Swords, which of course is again kind of being bound. It's that whole thing again. But this is how to relieve it. And who knows, maybe going to the scene of the crime and recreating something like this, that would be very shamanic. To dramatize an original trauma in order to somehow relieve it. Sort of homeopathic shamanism. Treating like with like, right? So I have the next page because that's where all the information is. Spiritual properties. Black cohosh will help to relieve the cramped feeling, which again, it's like, Herbal Tarot, are you just telling me what's going on with me now and not giving me the answer to my question? But anyway, will help to relieve the cramped feeling, like I've been getting in my lower abdomen. One may have when in the midst of the Eight of Swords situation. There is a need to relax, be calm, and stay present without fighting the circumstances. A calmer state of mind will enhance the faculties and make a resolution easier to perceive, which is pretty much the Eight of Swords, But the black cohosh here does have, it's an antispasmodic is what it's saying. And I think that's very true for what's going on in my hands, is that it actually, part of it is here. And I feel like that in other areas of my body too, that my muscles tend to contract. They're good at that. They're good at contracting, which kind of gives the illusion of strength, but they're not good at releasing, completely releasing. And I felt that is part of the problem here for a long time, but I haven't known how to get it to fully, well, let's say this, to release habitually, to release naturally. Like, of course, sometimes you have to make a fist or you need to lift something and those contract and then they just need to relax. And I feel like it's just that natural contraction and relaxing that is, that there's something wrong there on some kind of physiological level. So this says, medicinally, is a useful antispasmodic for all nervous conditions, cramps, and pains. Native Americans used black cohosh to relieve the pains associated with childbirth and with the menstrual cycle. Black cohosh has also been used for eruptive diseases such as measles and for rheumatism. So there you go. So this to me was very useful, and I can certainly, at least two of these ginger and black cohosh are fairly easy to get. So there I go. Alright. We don't have too much more to go here, so we've got the fairies, and so the two fairies, there he is, Luathus the Wild. This was, although he's green, this is the fire energy, you know, the crazy wild fire energy, Luathus the Wild. And I got the first one that came out was Faf the Footer. So this was at the top of the deck, and I just pulled him out from the middle. My dogs are in full chorus. I have no idea why. But one of them starts to bark, and then the others start to howl, and then they're all howling over nothing. Unfortunately, this behavior on their parts became pronounced after I'd been away for a while, and it's proving very hard to uproot. Okay, so Faf the Footer is about grounding. So we're kind of back to the idea that in order to heal the rest of the body, you need to get right with the root chakra. And I know in part how I can do this, and I just need to start making it a habit. It could also be referring, now I don't know if there are points in, now I can't remember what that's called, when you massage certain points on your feet, and how they affect your body. I don't think I've ever seen that for hands. I think it has, again, more to do with the core part of your body, stimulating organs and stuff like that in the core part of your body. But there we go. Hands and legs are just neglected. And it could even be a matter, because he shows he's massaging, in terms of just getting a hand massage only helped when I had that situation with the ice cream scooping. And again, it was here mainly, somewhat here, but here mainly that she worked. Since then, I haven't had that much success with massage. Like I have it's in the middle of the day, it's not too bad, but a trigger thumb, and I had one over on the other side last year. And that massage has never really relieved it, so it is a weird situation. So Luathus, you can see he's got a little flame right on his brain. He's got flame on the brain. So he is kind of similar to, you might say, the Knight of Swords that we saw and the Chariot that we saw, in that he is about kind of motion everywhere, never wanting to stop. So kind of stirring things up, which of course is in harmony with the ginger and was it the lady's mantle, or, you know, the idea of stirring up the circulation. So maybe I just need to do some more of this sort of thing, you know, that isn't something that exercises them without straining, which is a very yoga sort of a philosophy. So that's all I'm going to do for the fairies, is just kind of show you those. You can get pretty deep with the fairies, but I'm not going to go there. So I'll show you, not in the video, the journey with the Tarot of Transformation. Again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I'm just going to show you. So it's really, because I just found it really interesting. And then I'll do the Kuan Yin. I wanted to kind of end with the Kuan Yin because I wanted something soothing, you know. Kuan Yin at the end, give me something soothing, especially after we see that there's kind of some work to be done here. So with the Tarot of Transformation, the first card, and I'm not really paying any attention to this down here particularly, is Point of Origination. So to me, and then we have kind of down here, we have those figures around the fire kind of thing, which again, and there's bones down there, it's very shamanic feeling. And so I don't know if there's a shamanistic ceremony that kind of takes you back to past life traumas. I don't know. Wouldn't be surprised if there was, but I don't know if there is. But when I saw this, I just thought, oh, God, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go back. I just want to clear it, you know? I don't want to go back to the point of origination. So there it is. Point of origination. Followed by, what is this? Dissolving into oneness. So to me, this is like, and then the next card is dream time. So it's like these first three cards are like about a shamanic journey, going into dream time. So it's almost saying you need to go back to the point of origination, and the way to do that is, you know, going into a meditative state, going into the dream time. And then here in this card is actually the green man, similar to an emperor. So here we have it again. Ruling in harmony with nature. So I haven't delved into that, except with the sun and the moon in here. It kind of speaks to cycles. So it could be calling me to repeatedly do shamanic journeying or theta healing, that kind of thing. I've got reminders to do it, you know, but I don't do it fully. Like I say, I'm kind of a shabby journeyer. So maybe to take that more seriously and to more seriously in the sense of carving out major time to do it and to applying some ceremony to it. Not serious ritual, but just, you know, getting in a right space, having the dogs elsewhere, or taking myself elsewhere to do it so that I don't have that interference for when they want to go into chorus state. And then the next one is, and this is the Lovers, is love in the highest octave. So I don't know if that's just finding someone to do the exploration with, or so there's more than one aspect of union being called upon here. So that card was a little bit of a question mark for me. It felt like it didn't fit in with what else was going on here. Could be love in the highest octave in terms of self-love, going back on a journey and doing that kind of going back to the point of origination and sort of doing the sort of thing where you embrace yourself through the difficulty or something like that. And then the Magician, and the Magician was on the bottom of the deck in the Fractal Tarot, and it was also in my first question when I first asked, is the situation in my hands a past life issue, past life karma? The Magician appeared in the resolution. So yeah, here it is again. So somehow there's an aspect of empowerment involved here. So empowerment, or the Magician, which here is Master of Conscious Creation, inner seeing, and I don't think this is Six of Wands, so it's no relation to a traditional tarot. Inner seeing, which I would say here is sort of an expanded understanding of the situation, more connection, authentic connection with the Two of Cups. And again, I don't know that this is in talking about connection with another person. This might be authentic connection with a higher being. I've seen light people. It's really weird. That's part of the reason I think I hesitate to do like the theta healing and stuff. It's taking me into some weird stuff I don't generally kind of go for, but If I gotta, I gotta, right? The trust walk essentially means trusting this, that hesitation. I just said, oh God, it's the light people. I just don't want to deal with light people. Other people would be, oh yes, the light people. And I'm like, ooh, light people, it's too weird for me. All right, so it's saying to trust the path. It also has a labyrinth there. And I was creating a pattern, just a pattern to walk. I don't have the means to create a labyrinth. But, this kind of Pfaff the footer would love it if I did the walks that I had planned. And we're now in a temperature here in the south where I'm more likely to be able to do that. Yeah, so we'll see. Maybe I'll get back into walking that pattern again. And then Drama Queen, which is curious. I'll have to read about this. But the reason I kept going, now you might think that I would have stopped at Magician, because that in the other reading was kind of the resolution. But the reason I kept going was because I was curious when Kali would show up. Because when I was shuffling this deck, Kali popped out. And in this deck, she is the Tower. And this is when she popped out. So I figured, here she is, after the Drama Queen. So again, I don't know if there's some dramatization that I need to do, like that Eight of Swords. Some dramatization, some acting out, something that shatters the structure, or if this is just taking me back, this origination. I could maybe be reading these cards as what happened in the last, in the past life. Maybe I was doing some of this, and then, the structure of my hands was somehow shattered. I don't know. Receiving grace. So yes, I took a couple steps out. I'm not going to stop at Kali. I'm going to look a little further, take a couple more cards. So it was nice to see this. Receiving grace is coming after Kali. And then integrated work. The Three of Discs. And this is where I stopped, because this made a lot of sense to me in terms, again, with those Eight of Pentacles and the possibility of having and repeating, straining, because in in this lifetime I've repeated straining my hands, and so to find integrated work that either uses my hands in a different way, or heals them, or it could mean so many different things. So I need to keep those out and kind of record them. I'm putting them back in the bag, but I have a little grid that I record things on, the different cards, especially for an involved reading like this. And then a couple of this is one of my happy decks, the Kuan Yin, Wild Kuan Yin Oracle. And so I can't remember how these cards, if they kind of lean out, they lean out of the deck, and that's why I picked them. Or if one was a genuine popper. I think this was a genuine popper somehow. And then this is the one I always pick, right? This is my card in this deck, at least for this time period. It's like the only card I ever pull out of this deck. Alright, so these are, and again, this is just a bald, meaningless description of the card. Blue Mother, she's wearing a blue shirt. Yellow Mountain, there's the sun is rising back here. I take it as the sun rising. And Gibbous Moon, which there's certainly no moon in this card, and so that maybe I have a theory that these images are taken from other images. So maybe the larger image had a moon in it. This one clearly doesn't. So, I'm trying to see, for one thing, so this is full of kind of sweet nothings, but so it says the Holy Mother's blue robes wrap around the soul now held within her protection. And whatever attachment has been getting in the way of your actual soul success, so attachment to this past karma with my hands, whatever attachment has been getting in the way of your actual soul success and authentic fulfillment will be subject to her intervention. So really, it's a beautiful card to be getting for this situation. Not only are you offered protection, but the possibility, even if you are in the midst of great change, to feel a deep sense of peace and trust within. Okay? So I guess you are offered that possibility. You will know that whatever is taking place is actually helping you achieve what will bring the most profound joy, even if on the surface things seem to be moving in unexpected or unwanted directions. Any pain shall be transformed into a blessing beyond even your wildest imaginings. There is nothing to fear or resist here, only great blessings to receive. So again, that notion of pain, which I don't believe is in every card here in this deck. And like the Knight of Swords, it says, jump on the opportunities that are there for you. Take action that feels inspired by the heart. Do what you need to do. Now is the time when your every action will be in an alignment with a wave of energy reaching its crescendo. You can use that, sort of like the rising sun, I think is what they're getting at here. You can use that like a surfer catching a wave to move towards the sacred shoreline. It says you are going through a process of being spiritually cleansed of fear and control. You will be able to blossom to the fullness of your being, etc., etc. Okay, so let's look at the Wild Red Rider, Blessings Bestowed. Such a fun deck. I mean, not necessarily in the messages in the book, but the images are just fun, dreamy images. Again, just trying to sift through. Okay, this is your life being shaken up a little. Harmony and order is promised, but it may involve you and your life being shaken up a little. Forget about the nice plans and the things that make sense. So it's a little bit Tower-ish, but much gentler. So yeah, forget about nice plans and things that make sense and about routines and strategy. It is time to take your hands off matters. It is time to let your priorities be adjusted and your viewpoints be turned inside out. You won't be eating at the banquet of life on a clean dish or politely sitting at the table with fork and knife. You'll be messily munching away, sitting on the ground, feasting on the chunks of life Divine Mother shoves into your mouth to satisfy your wild and hungry soul. That always cracks me up. It is not a time to worry about appearances. You know, it's a lot about accepting your physical self. It says this is an irresistible invitation. I almost feel like this This is less to me about what's going on with my hands and more with what's going on in my life in general, which I believe this is why this has been turning up so frequently for me. So it's just, and again, the idea that it's all a journey. Yeah, taking risks. So kind of combination of the Fool and the Tower. This is 44. I think this is the last. Yeah, it's the last card in this deck. So there we go. To go ahead and meet with the light people. Even if it freaks me out. Alright. That's all the decks so far. 50 minutes. And that's why I'm not doing the Greenwood Tarot in this particular set. Yeah, so I'll make notes on these cards, or I will note the cards. I usually don't make extensive notes, but I note the cards and sometimes take pictures of them. For further processing, I'll certainly be looking more, especially into that Tarot of Transformation, that whole journey that is kind of provided there and what it's trying to communicate. As always, anybody who has insights into some of the things they've seen and some of the cards that repeated and some of the, I don't know, the healing advice and the spirit, you know, the spirit of the herbs there from the Herbal Tarot, anything at all, just go ahead and share it in the comments below. Take care and see you again soon. Bye-bye.